My wife moved in with the guy next door to find herself. She thought I'd wait until I handed her the one paper she never saw coming. My name's Mark. I'm 32 years old, and up until recently I thought I had a pretty solid life. I wasn't chasing fame or fortune. I had a good job as a software engineer, a cozy house in a quiet suburb in Ohio, and what I believed was a strong marriage. Simple, stable, predictable. That's the kind of guy I've always been. But you know what they say. Stability sometimes hides the cracks you're too comfortable to see. I met my wife, Jenna, about 8 years ago. I was 24, just a couple months into my first job out of grad school. She was 23 and working part-time as a receptionist while still trying to figure out what she wanted career-wise. We met at a cookout a mutual friend hosted, just your typical summer Saturday with folding chairs, paper plates, and someone inevitably burning the hot dogs. Jenna came right up to me, joking that I looked like I was planning an escape. I don't remember my reply, but it made her laugh, and we talked the rest of the afternoon. We started dating soon after, and things moved quickly. She had this spontaneous streak, last-minute road trips, new restaurants, random game nights with friends. I was the planner. I'd figure out the costs, directions, weather. She brought the chaos, I brought the order, and for a while it worked. She made my quiet world louder, and I gave her the grounded calm she said she'd never had in past relationships. After 3 years we got married. The wedding was simple, just close friends and family, no big show. Neither of us came from money, so we kept it small but meaningful. We settled into married life in a modest 3-bedroom house on the edge of town. Not fancy, but it felt like ours. At first life was good. I'd go to work, and when I came home, Jenna would usually be cooking or scrolling her phone on the couch. She had a lot to say about her day, about people she talked to or things she read online. I listened. I always listened. That's how we worked. Kids weren't in the picture yet. We both agreed to wait. We wanted to be in a better place financially, and honestly, we liked the freedom of just being us. Our routines were familiar. Weekly grocery runs, Friday night takeout, movie marathons on the couch. We didn't fight much, and when we did, it was about small stuff. Her shoes left everywhere, or me forgetting to load the dishwasher. Nothing serious. At least, that's what I thought. But relationships don't usually blow up overnight. They erode, one small oversight at a time, and if you're not paying attention, you miss the warning signs completely. That's what happened to me. About 2 years ago, a new neighbor moved in next door. His name was Chris. He was younger than us, around 28, a personal trainer with the kind of body that made people stop and stare. The guy looked like he belonged in a fitness ad. Tight shirts, confident smile, always jogging or lifting something heavy in his front yard. And he was always outside, washing his car, fixing something, or just standing around shirtless like it was no big deal. The first time we met him, Jenna was with me. Chris walked over, friendly as ever, introduced himself, and they started talking like they were old friends. She asked him where he was from, how long he'd been a trainer, what gym he worked at. I barely got a word in. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. Jenna's always been chatty. But looking back now, that was the start. It started with small stuff. Every time Chris was outside, Jenna found a reason to be outside too. Grabbing the mail, watering plants, taking out the trash. What should have taken a minute would turn into 10-minute conversations over the fence. I came home one day and found them laughing in the driveway. She was holding a laundry basket, and he was leaning on his car, like they'd been out there for a while. He was just showing me his new workout setup, she said casually when I walked up. I nodded, trying not to overthink it. Then she started baking again. Cookies, muffins, stuff she hadn't done in months. She claimed she was just being neighborly, but when I saw her walk a fresh batch of cookies across the lawn to Chris, it hit me different. Still, I said nothing. A few days later, Jenna came home with brand new running clothes, bright leggings, a fitted top, stuff she never wore. I asked about it, and she said she wanted to start jogging again. Time to get back in shape, she smiled. The next morning, she was out the door at the same time Chris usually jogged. Coincidence? I wasn't sure yet. Then came the day I saw them stretching on the sidewalk together as I left for work. Jenna waved like everything was normal. Chris was showing her something about shin splints. I drove off with that image burned into my head. That night something felt off. I started noticing her phone behavior changing. She'd lock the screen when I walked into the room, scroll past things too fast. I saw Chris's name at the top of her Instagram one night and asked. "He posts good workout tips," she said, brushing it off. But it didn't stop there. Another time I caught her by the back fence talking to Chris again, same casual tone, same laugh I used to get. I stood there, watching from the kitchen window, and realized something was. The signs were piling up. Jenna talked about Chris more often. Chris said this, or Chris uses that supplement, not just in passing, with energy, with a smile, with interest. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I wanted to trust her. We had years together, history. But a part of me, the part that couldn't unsee what I'd seen, started paying closer attention. Then one Saturday morning, everything came crashing down. She came into the kitchen, phone in hand, looking nervous. Her eyes wouldn't meet mine. "We need to talk," she said. I looked at her and said, "Okay, what's going on?" Jenna took a breath like she was gearing up to deliver bad news at a performance review. "I don't really know how to say this, so I'm just going to say it. I think I have feelings for Chris." I blinked. For a split second, I thought I misheard her. "Come again?" She looked down at her phone like it held the script she forgot. "I didn't mean for this to happen. We've just connected lately, and now I'm confused." That word, confused, hit like a sucker punch to the ribs. Not sorry, not regretful, confused. Like this was a puzzle she needed to solve, and I was one of the options on the table. I sat there stunned. My mouth opened, but no words came out right away. My mind started spiraling. Was she leaving? Asking for a divorce, hoping I'd just wait around while she chased some gym fantasy? I finally asked, "So what exactly are you saying, Jenna? Are you done with us?" She shook her head quickly. "No, not necessarily. I love you, Mark, I really do. But I don't know what to make of how I feel around Chris. It's like he brings something out in me and I just need to figure it out. I need space. I was thinking maybe I could take a break, just a month, stay with him. That way I'll know for sure." That was the moment the switch flipped inside me. I didn't yell, didn't throw my coffee mug across the room. I just leaned back in my chair and stared at her like I was looking at a stranger. "You're serious?" I asked. "Yes," she said, like she was pitching some rational plan. "I don't want to have regrets later. I just need to be sure. If it doesn't work out, then we can focus on us again." I nodded slowly. "All right," I said, just like that. Her eyebrows lifted slightly, like she hadn't expected me to agree. "Wait. Really?" "Sure," I replied, standing up, taking my mug to the sink. "If you think that's what you need." Inside, I was already done. The second she said she wanted to spend time with another man to explore her feelings, some cold clarity settled into my bones. This wasn't a marriage anymore, it was a waiting room for her indecision. Over the next few days, she packed a small bag, some clothes, her laptop, makeup pouch. She tried to make it seem normal. Said she'd be nearby, just at Chris's place. She even asked if I wanted her to check in. I didn't. I told her to take care of herself, nothing more. The house got quiet. Not silent in a peaceful way, quiet in a hollow, echoing way. I stood in the living room after she left, watching the doors slowly swing shut, and felt something I didn't expect. Relief. No more pretending everything was okay. No more guessing what mood she was in. No more wondering why she was texting under the table. At first, the silence was weird. The couch still had her favorite throw blanket on it. Her half-used bottle of shampoo sat in the shower, but I didn't touch any of it. I didn't want to give her space the honor of feeling like absence. Instead, I focused on myself. I picked up extra shifts at work, said yes to more coding sprints, spent long hours rewriting back-end architecture just to keep my brain busy. After work, I hit the gym. Hard. not out of some desperate revenge body motivation. I just needed to burn through the frustration. Sweat was the only thing that made sense for a while. Friends started noticing. A few asked why Jenna hadn't been around. I gave them generic answers. She's staying with a friend, and changed the subject. I wasn't ready to unpack it all. The only person I told the whole truth to was my dad. I called him about 5 days after she left. As soon as he picked up, he said, "Something's wrong. He's always had that ability to sense things, even through a phone line." I told him everything. He didn't say much at first, just listened. Then, after a pause, he said something that stuck with me. "Son, if she's unsure about you now, she doesn't deserve to be sure about you later." I don't know why that hit so hard, but it did. All those days I'd been second-guessing myself, wondering if I could have done something different. His words snapped that in half. I wasn't the one who left. I wasn't the one confused. Later that night, I stood in front of the mantel, staring at our wedding photo. We looked so happy in that picture, so young, so sure. I didn't feel sad, just tired. I picked the frame up, turned it around, and placed it face down. That weekend, I made my decision. I wasn't going to wait around for Jenna to figure things out. I wasn't going to sit here hoping she realized how much we meant. If she was willing to put our marriage on pause for some backyard chemistry experiment, then I was done waiting. I scheduled an appointment with a divorce lawyer. Sitting in his office, going through the details, felt surreal. He asked questions. I answered as plainly as I could. When I finished, he looked me straight in the eye and said, "You've got every reason to move forward. This falls well under irreconcilable differences." Those words, irreconcilable differences, hit like a door closing softly but permanently. Back at home, I started getting practical, opened a new bank account, looked at what furniture I wanted to keep. I didn't touch her stuff yet, but in my mind the house was already mine. Weeks passed. The quiet stopped feeling strange. I got used to it, even liked it. No more checking my phone for updates. No more wondering if I'd see her car in the driveway. Neighbors started talking. One mentioned seeing Jenna and Chris out at a local diner. Another saw them walking their dog at the park, holding hands. I nodded, smiled, pretended it didn't bother me. It did, but not the way I expected. I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt insulted. Jenna thought she could just test drive another man, and if it didn't work out, come back home like it was all just a phase. Like I'd be waiting here with open arms. She clearly didn't know me. It was nearly a full month after she left when Jenna came back. No warning, no text, just walked through the door one Tuesday afternoon like she'd been out running errands. Her bag was slung over her shoulder, makeup done, hair perfect, like this wasn't the same woman who told me she needed time away to figure things out with another man. I was sitting on the couch, watching TV, flipping through channels without really watching anything. When she stepped in, I barely looked up. "Hey," she said softly. "I'm back." She stood there a moment, like she was waiting for something more. A hug, maybe, or some dramatic, "Thank God you're home" line. When it didn't come, she walked over and sat down on the arm of the couch. "We should talk," she said, voice careful. I muted the TV and turned toward her. "Talk." Jenna took a breath like she was about to give a TED Talk on forgiveness. "I've done a lot of thinking," she began, "and I realized that what we have is real. I care about you, Mark. I love you. And I think we can work through this. We've been through so much together." I let her speak. I didn't interrupt. She talked about how Chris wasn't what she thought he'd be, how he was fun but immature, impulsive, not grounded, how their connection was all surface and no substance. "He's not you," she said. I guess I got swept up in the excitement, but it didn't take long to see the cracks. She smiled a little, like she expected that line to soften me. "I want to come back. I want to rebuild what we had." That word, rebuild, made something in me tighten. I stood up slowly and walked over to the kitchen drawer. I pulled out the folder I'd been keeping tucked away. the one with the divorce papers my lawyer had drawn up. I set them on the table in front of her. She looked down at them, her smile faltering. "What's this?" "Divorce papers," I said, matter of fact. Her head snapped up. "You're kidding." "No," I said. "I'm not." For a moment she didn't say anything, just stared at the papers like they might disappear if she blinked enough times. Then her face changed. Shock gave way to disbelief. "You're divorcing me?" "Yeah," I said calmly. "I'm not interested in being anyone's second choice." Her mouth opened, then shut. She looked furious, then hurt, then furious again. "Second choice," she snapped. "That's not fair." "That's not what this is." "I was confused, Mark. I needed time to think." "I didn't cheat. I was honest about it." I nodded. "Right. You were honest about wanting to try life with another guy. That's what you were honest about." She tried to argue. Said I was overreacting. Said it was just a mistake, that she thought she was doing the mature thing by being open. I let her talk. But my decision didn't waver. I told her I wasn't interested in rebuilding something she was so willing to walk away from. "You left. You made that choice. You don't get to come back just because it didn't work out the way you hoped." She stood there, arms crossed, trying to make me feel like the bad guy. "You're throwing away our marriage over one mistake," she said. "No," I replied. "I'm ending it because that mistake showed me exactly how little I meant to you. I'm not your safety net, Jenna. I'm not your fallback." She looked like she might cry. And maybe part of me, the old version of me, the version who still held on to those memories, wanted to give in. But that guy? He was done. She eventually left, slamming the door behind her. I didn't flinch. Didn't move. Just stood there in the quiet, staring at the empty space where she'd stood, and felt free. The next day, I called my lawyer and told him she'd seen the papers. "She's not going to sign right away," I said, "but she knows where I stand." He asked if I wanted to give her more time. I didn't hesitate, move forward. And that's when things got messy. Jenna wasn't the type to back down quietly. She texted, called, showed up at the door unannounced. One night she banged on the front door for 10 straight minutes. "Mark, open up. We need to talk." I opened the door slowly. She barged in like she still lived there. "You can't just file for divorce without giving me a chance to fix things," she said, pacing in the living room. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "You had your chance," she shouted, pleaded, said I was being cold, said I wasn't seeing the full picture. I let her vent. Then I reminded her, "You left not for space, not to visit family. You left to go be with another man. That's not something we recover from." She finally stopped yelling and just stood there. For the first time, she looked like she realized she might actually lose everything. "What do I do now?" she asked, voice cracking. "That's not my problem anymore," I replied. "You made your decision. Now you live with it." She walked out without another word. This time I didn't expect her to come back. And even if she did, I wouldn't be here waiting. The divorce process moved fast. Faster than I expected, honestly. Jenna tried to slow it down at first, sending messages about talking things through or finding a way to meet in the middle. But I didn't bite. I was done talking. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. She showed up at my office one day, unannounced. Security called me, said a woman was in the lobby asking for me. I told them to send her away. That night I got a long email from her. Pages of words about our history, her regrets, what she'd learned. I didn't respond. I didn't even finish reading it. Maybe a few months ago that kind of thing would have torn me up. But now? I just felt tired. She'd made her choices. I was making mine. Still, she didn't let go quietly. She started messaging our mutual friends, trying to rewrite the story. Told them I was being cold, that I refused to forgive one mistake, that I threw away a marriage over a few confusing weeks. A few believed her, at least at first. But the ones who really knew us, they knew the truth. Knew how much I'd put into that relationship, how many things I'd let slide over the years. My dad? He was my anchor through all of this. When I told him about her latest stunts, he just shook his head. That girl's not losing you, son. She already lost you. She's just now starting to feel it. That hit me hard, because he was right. Jenna didn't regret what she'd done. She regretted the consequences. Eventually, the court date came. I walked into the courthouse wearing my best suit, clean shave, no tie. Jenna was already inside, sitting with her lawyer. She looked nervous, pale, tired. Her hands kept wringing the edges of a tissue. For a moment, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But then I remembered all the mornings I'd woken up alone, the nights she spent next door while I stared at the ceiling wondering what I'd done wrong. We didn't say much to each other, just answered questions, signed the papers. And that was it. Just like that, 8 years reduced to a few signatures and a stamped order. Outside the courtroom, she tried to talk to me again. "Mark," she said quietly, "can I say something?" I didn't respond, but I didn't walk away either. "I know sorry doesn't change things," she said, "but I really am. I didn't mean for it to happen like this." I nodded. "I know you didn't." "Do you think," she started, then paused. "Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw someone I used to know, someone I loved, someone I no longer recognized. "Maybe," I said, "but forgiving you doesn't mean I want you back. Take care of yourself, Jenna." And I walked away. The weeks after the divorce were strange, but not in the way you'd think. I didn't fall apart. I didn't go on some post-breakup spiral. If anything, I felt clearer than I had in years. I moved a few things around in the house, repainted the bedroom, swapped the couch out for something that felt more mine, got rid of the framed wedding photos, boxed up the keepsakes, put her stuff in storage, and had her come pick it up. She didn't say much when she showed, just loaded her trunk and drove off. After that, it was like a line had finally been drawn. The calls stopped, the texts stopped, the pretending stopped. People around me started asking how I was holding up. Better than expected, I'd say. And it was true. The quiet felt peaceful again. The gym became my second home. I started meeting new people, went out more, said yes to things I used to skip. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was living in someone else's shadow. I was just living. Every now and then I'd hear about Jenna through friends. Apparently, Chris moved on pretty quickly, started dating someone else just a couple weeks after she moved back in. That didn't surprise me. He never struck me as the long-term type. From what I heard, she ended up moving in with a cousin out in Dayton, was figuring things out again. One friend said she was talking about going back to school, getting into social work or something like that. I didn't feel anything about it, no joy in her struggles, no bitterness, just nothing. One afternoon I ran into her at the grocery store. We both reached for the same bag of coffee. She froze. I gave her a nod, polite but distant, and kept walking. She didn't follow, didn't say a word. That interaction lasted 5 seconds. It was all I needed to know we were really over. Looking back, I think the most important thing I've learned is this. Someone who truly values you doesn't put you on pause to chase someone else. They don't run toward uncertainty while expecting you to stay still. Jenna made her choice, and I made mine. She walked away thinking she'd come back to the same man, but the man she left behind doesn't exist anymore. I've changed. I've grown. I'm not angry anymore. I'm awake. I know what I deserve now. I know what love is supposed to feel like, and I'll never again accept less than that. Life after Jenna wasn't just peaceful. It was liberating. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't trying to make someone else happy at the expense of my own peace. I wasn't navigating silent moods, second-guessing looks, or waiting for some emotional shoe to drop. I was finally building a life that felt like mine, not a compromise. Work started to thrive, too. I picked up a few freelance contracts, explored some side projects I'd been putting off, and even got invited to speak at a small tech conference. Nothing crazy, but it was progress. It felt good to be growing again, to be looking forward instead of just surviving day by day. I upgraded parts of the house, new desk, new dining set, repainted the kitchen. The space started feeling like a reflection of who I was becoming, clean, focused, intentional. Friends noticed. A couple of them joked about my divorce glow-up, and while I laughed it off, deep down I knew they weren't wrong. I wasn't trying to reinvent myself to prove anything. I was just done living half-heartedly. I even started dating again. Nothing serious at first, casual coffees, a few dinners. It was strange at first, like learning to speak a language I hadn't used in years, but I took my time. I wasn't looking for someone to fill a void. I was learning what it meant to truly be with someone who chose me without hesitation, without confusion. And that was a whole different experience. I met someone a few months later. Emily. We were introduced through mutual friends. She was calm in a way that wasn't boring, and kind without trying to impress. We started slow. Just conversations at first, then walks, late-night calls, shared playlists. There was no rush, no performance, just two people learning each other's pace. One night while we were sitting on my porch, she asked me straight up, "What's your story?" I told her. Everything. Not in a dramatic, bitter way, just the truth. She listened, really listened, and when I finished, she said something I'll never forget. "You didn't lose anything, Mark. You just made room for the right thing." That stayed with me, because for the first time I realized I wasn't just healing. I was being seen, not for what I'd been through, but for who I was becoming because of it. Emily never asked for explanations. She didn't need constant reassurance. She didn't try to fix me or compete with my past. She simply showed up, consistently, honestly, and over time, I did something I wasn't sure I'd ever do again. I let my guard down. Jenna? She eventually signed the divorce papers after some legal pressure. The final settlement was fair. She didn't get what she originally asked for, but enough to move on. I didn't hear from her again after that, not directly anyway. Mutual friends occasionally mentioned she was still figuring stuff out, working part-time, attending some kind of online therapy course. Apparently she'd stopped talking about Chris altogether. I guess reality has a way of humbling even the most confident detours. I don't feel bitterness toward her anymore. In a strange way, I'm thankful, because without her leaving, I'd still be stuck in that quiet resignation we called a marriage. Her walking away gave me permission to finally walk toward myself. It's funny how people think losing someone means you're broken. But sometimes it's the very act of letting go that puts you back together. I'm not the same man I was when Jenna left, and I'm glad I'm not. That man tolerated more than he should have. He thought love meant waiting in the hallway while someone else explored every other door. This man? He knows better. He knows his worth. He knows peace is not a luxury. It's a boundary. He knows real love doesn't ask you to audition. Now, when I sit in my living room, I don't see ghosts. I see a home. I see late dinners with Emily. I see evenings on the porch with quiet laughter. I see a man who faced heartbreak and didn't let it define him, who chose growth over resentment, who learned that sometimes the best thing someone can do is leave. So, if you've ever been someone's plan B, if someone ever made you feel like you had to compete just to be chosen, walk away. Choose yourself, because no one worth having will ever make you question your place in their life. You deserve someone who doesn't need a month to figure it out. You deserve someone who knows.